Hey, I'm Lee from the Play Guitar Podcast. Today I'm bringing you part 3 of my series on rhythm guitar. In part 1, I went over the struggles of rhythm guitar. And in part 2, I had 3 great rhythm guitar exercises for beginners. And today I'm going to finish off with the 4 areas all guitarists need to work on to move forward with rhythm guitar. Let's get started. Improve your rhythm guitar. Whether you're missing some key rhythmic ingredients in your playing, or you just want to move forward from where you are, some serious focus on rhythm can bring you back on track. In the last exercise, I focused on what a new player can do to get on track. But now, what can someone do who's been playing for a while and realizes that the rhythm guitar could use a little work? Well, this is a great example of what I say all of the time. Becoming a great guitarist is like building a house. The key is you have to build a strong foundation. In the last exercise, I created 3 exercises that started the new guitarist down the road with rhythm guitar. And the key concepts of those exercises are not just for new guitarists. It's for every level of guitar. Here they are. The key to those exercises is to get the new guitarist thinking about and working on a few key areas. And they are chords, strum patterns, timing, and planning ahead. For the rest of us, guitarists have already been playing but want to improve. The idea doesn't change. If you continue to work on those 4 areas throughout your journey with the guitar, you'll see very steady improvement in the thing the guitarists play the most, which is rhythm guitar. First is chords. Let's talk about the chords themselves. Guitar players tend to gravitate to their favorite chord voicings. You find the chords that sound the best to you or sound like your favorite songs, and you are ready to go. And it's fun. And now being able to have those sounds in your bag of tricks, you can use them in many different situations. Adding these sounds to songs that might not normally use them, or it could be just a thing to make them sound incredible. It's like adding spices when you're cooking. But just like cooking, if you put the same spice in all of your meals, you might start to get a little tired of that taste. The idea that once you learn a few chords and you're done, that's kept a lot of players from achieving what they really wanted to do. It'll hold you back. So how do you get past that? How do you move forward past just memorizing the shapes on the guitar? Well, you need to know how these things work. It's not just magic the way these things sound. There's a reason for every note in a chord. And the reasons for them make sense. It's called chord theory. And you say, oh no, there's that theory word that turns everybody off. It seems that when the theory word's thrown around, people start to tune out. And when you add the word theory to something, it makes you think, watch out, this is going to be difficult. But honestly, chord theory is not difficult at all. It makes sense. And the first step to being a better rhythm player on any level is to start getting into how chords are built and incorporating what you learn in your playing. New ways of playing chords can be exciting and raise your playing to new heights. If you are interested in learning more about how chords are built, I suggest that you read my post that will help start you out in the right direction. It's at playguitarpodcast.com/chords. And I'll put that link below. Another tip that can improve your chords is to work on voicings. The way a guitar is set up is fantastic for chords. There's so many different ways and places on a guitar to play any chord that you want. And chances are, no matter where your hand is on the guitar, you've got what you need under your fingers right there. You just have to find it. Try taking a chord that you play all of the time and find out exactly what notes are in it. For example, earlier I used a C chord and then I went to a G chord. The C chord, let's see what notes are in there. We've got C, that's the 3rd fret of the A string. We've got an E, which is 2nd fret of the D string, the open G string. So we have C, E, G. First finger's on the 1st fret of the B string, that's a C. And then we have the open high E string. Okay, C, E, G, C, E. Really, that's just 3 notes, C, E, and G. The rest are doubles. Okay, let's talk about the G major chord. G major chord, here we've got G, that's the 3rd fret of the low E string. Then we've got the B, that's the 2nd fret of the A string. Open D, open G, open B, and then a G on the high E string. So really, this is 3 notes too. A G, a B, and a D. Just 3 notes. And you don't have to play those notes only where you learn them. They can be played anywhere you find them on the guitar. And they can be played in different orders as well. They don't have to be all in a row. It doesn't matter. If you have those notes, you have the chord you need. So start getting some new voicings. Try finding the notes from a chord in different places on the neck. Well, when you find an arrangement of those notes that sounds good to you, pay special attention to that. Write it down. You might be able to use this new voicing in a song that you're playing. Let's try this with the C chord. C, E, G. Let's try something up high around here on the 8th fret. So at the 8th fret, we have a C. So all we need now to finish this C chord is an E note and a G note. Well, right next to it, the 8th note of the B string, we have a G. So we have C and G. All we need is an E note to make a C major chord. Well, E happens to be right at the 9th fret on the G string. There's a C chord. That's all you need. Does it sound like this? It's different. It's the same chord, functions the same, has a little bit different sound to it. You might, in one instance, you might want to use that. It might sound better for this situation that you're in. Okay, let's talk about strum patterns. Once a lot of guitar players get a few common strum patterns down, it's rarely thought about anymore. You're past it. It quickly goes from studying those strum patterns to your now seat of your pants playing. You're just trying to strum on the fly and hoping that your strumming works out. The next time you're playing rhythms, pay special attention to the way you strum. You might be surprised. We always focus so much on the fretting hand that spending time in your daily practice with the picking hand is very well spent time. If you remember from episode 28, my funk guitar rhythm episode, I told you to, I took you through an exercise to get your 16th notes under control. And what we did is we gave each beat of the 16th notes a direction. It was down on one, up on the E, down on and, up on A. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. The first beat, the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4, they're always a downstroke. And the reason is that's a very strong sound. And as we went through the 16th notes, we also started muting certain notes and letting other notes sound, all while keeping the same pattern. We sometimes let one sound out and then another, sometimes the other ones could be maybe. For each beat, on the first beat, I let the first note of 4 out, the 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a. The next time through, I let the second one out. The third time, I let the third one out. And the last time, I let the fourth one out and muted all the other notes. If we didn't have that way of ordering our up and down strokes, it'd be impossible to play 16th note grooves at any moderate to fast tempo at all. We need to really have an economy of strumming. So take a look at the songs that you're playing and start to economize your strumming. Make sure you stay with a down-up pattern in your strumming as much as possible, even if your fretting hand is not playing anything at the time. Okay, let's move on to the next one, timing. Working on your timing is key to moving forward with the guitar. If you found that you can play a particular chord pattern at a comfortable tempo, but if you had to do it any faster, you'd start to struggle. I'm sure that there are very few players that can play perfectly in all tempos. There's always room for improvement. And it's a simple way to move forward. And it's really not very exciting. We're going to use the metronome again. It's the age-old tip that's worked for countless musicians for as far as back as people have used metronomes. And it's one you should be using in your practice if you really want to improve your timing. Here it is. You find the tempo that you're comfortable playing and you write it down. That's your number. That's where you're comfortable playing. And that day, you practice whatever you're playing at that tempo. The next day, bump that up a little bit. Increase the number 1 or 2 beats per minute. Try practicing that same thing there. And you just rinse and repeat after that. Each day goes by, you try it again. Next day, you bump it up 1 or 2 more and see if you can handle with that. As each day goes by, you keep increasing. You're training your brain and your fingers to adjust to the new environment, the new tempo. And you keep this up until you find the tempo that you really seem to struggle with. And that's your new number. This is where our focus needs to be. When you get to that point where you're really struggling, back off a little bit, back off 1 or 2 BPM, start practicing there, spend a few days at that point. When you really feel comfortable, go up to that number that was so difficult and give it a try again. See what the results are the next time. You might be surprised. Okay, let's talk about planning ahead. This isn't just a problem for beginners. Not giving yourself enough time to change chords, especially complex voicing, it's a problem that players of all levels deal with. But for beginners, it just comes out different. The beginner loses time completely. The more experienced player, though, they know that that chord can't be laid on the strong beat, on beat 1. But if they don't have enough time to get there, they'll just play a wrong chord, a fudged chord on that time instead of being laid. So what's worse, being out of time or not playing something correctly? I don't know, but let's not even have that problem at all. Let's not even deal with that. If you know you have a challenging chord voicing coming up, prepare for it. Set up the chord before it in a way that your fingers don't have a lot of difficulty making the transition. Also, make sure that you borrow plenty of time from that measure before, so you have time to make the change to that challenging chord. If you fill up every single beat all the way up to the very last second where you need that chord, you're going to struggle. So thinking ahead is the key in music. No matter if you're playing lead guitar through key changes or coming up with interesting chords and rhythms, if you don't know where you're going, there's a good chance you're going to end up with a train wreck. Always keeping an eye on what's coming up will give you a professional sound and will give you time to process some new ideas on the fly if you need. Before I go, I want to thank you. I want to remind you about my free video lesson. It's called Get Your Blues Soloing Under Control. It's the 6 steps I found that will give you the right foundations for killer blues solos. And it's a lesson I put together for you guys. I spent some time with some listeners, got together, asked some questions, and I know that this can really help take your soloing to a new direction. And there's an easy way to find it. Go to freeblueslesson.com. When you sign up for this, you also get my news about all my podcasts, videos, and other cool stuff sent right to your inbox. So go ahead and check that out at freeblueslesson.com. Thanks for joining me today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And a big thank you to my very first Patreon subscriber, Chris Ward. I had a great time bringing this to you and this whole series, this week's mini series on rhythm guitar. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week for episode 46.